cared for, and I don't know that we would have found that anywhere else. Sometimes I think right now they know my mom better than I do.
The $1 Million Mattress Clearance is going on now at all Mermaid Mattress locations.
All this week we are helping you know your dough, courtesy of TVFCU. Yesterday, Tammy Zumrin and Chris Mulkey were on the show giving us some tips on a spending plan versus a budget. This morning they are back helping us with credit scores, any type of loan that you may have, and feeling empowered as you go into the new year with your money. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great to be here.
So Chris, I'm going to throw this one to you first crack out of the gate because you are the VP of Consumer Lending.
Mm-hmm.
You're also fairly new to the credit union, and it must be a fun experience for you to have to do banking this way.
Yes, it's been great. It's a transition that has been very warm. And the credit union culture in itself is just so warm and inviting. Mm-hmm. But to be able to meet the members and have conversations and try to answer questions that they may have and provide some type of guidance, it's been a real thrill.
There is a casualness, and I'm not trying to disparage anybody else. That's not my intent at all, because lots of people do business in wonderful ways. There is something, though, very family feeling at the credit union.
So true. Coming in, started at TVFCU in March, and just, again, the warmth and the welcome of the people, and that extends out beyond the employees. That goes to the membership. So you're spot on.
Okay, so let's talk then about credit score and loans.
Sure.
Because that friendly face either gets you in the door or makes you afraid to open it, right? People are pretty vulnerable when they're coming in to see about getting a loan.
That's so true.
If you are looking to get, let's just say, a car loan, is there a certain kind of happy credit score that you need to have to even be considered?
You know, I think you just hit the core difference that resides in TVFCU is that it's not about a 3-digit number. It's about the story behind that number. Getting to know the individual, understanding what their journey has been up to that point, and determining how did we get to the score, good or bad. What has been that history leading up to it? We believe that character says a lot more about a person than a number does.
Okay, so let's still stick with the idea that it's, okay, first of all, let's talk about the types of loans you can get at the credit union. Car loan?
Car loan, personal signature loan, good for consolidating. Lines of credit. We can certainly take applications for credit cards. Okay. So the whole gamut on the consumer side.
Okay, I'm going to just jump around here. So let's pretend that you're somebody out there and you don't have a great credit score. And maybe you're looking to build one. That's where the line of credit can come in, right?
It can. All those loans can come in and play a part in that. Looking to rebuild credit, I think the first step you need to take in rebuilding credit is understanding what a credit score is made up of, right? And so identifying that the 5 major pieces of a credit score, primarily payment history. How have you made your payments? Have you made them on time? How much credit do you have? How much do you owe out there at any given time? How long have you had credit?
Well, I was just sitting here thinking, though, you know, when you first start out, what is a credit score? You know, I mean, people hear that. Young people know that there is such a thing as a credit bureau and a credit score. But I think one misconception is that somebody is giving you this score. They're assigning you this number.
As opposed to you earning
As opposed to you earning it. So the things that Chris was mentioning as far as making your payment on time, you know, and your loan, the ratio of how much you are lended out.
Credit
those kind of things, you're making those decisions. So the score that ends up being applied is totally based on the things you've done.
That's absolutely true.
And I think that we don't always realize that. And so, you know, a lot of people end up in trouble because they end up with a lower credit score and they really don't know how they got there. They thought, well, I was just 5 or 10 days late. What big deal was that? I still paid it.
Right.
You know, and they don't realize all of that goes into your credit score.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I did pay it, but I was late. Often, even if it's something like your cable bill, you can set that. If you look at your expenses and then the income that you earn, you can see how many bills are due the 1st to the 15th and what's due the 15th to the end of the month. And if you have more money going out one part than another part, can't you try to work with the particular entity if it's your cable bill and see if you can pay your bill on the 26th versus the 13th?
Yeah. Certainly talk to your creditors, talk to your partners there, and see if they can adjust that, because most are willing to, unless there's just a hard, fast rule of when a due date. In most companies, your mortgage, your house payment is due on the 1st of the month typically. But yeah, cable companies, that's a great example. Call and talk to them. Let them know what you're needing. Most people just don't even take that step to ask to see if there is a solution.
So if you do not have either a credit score, which can be the case.
Right. If you've never had credit, that's something else. They're like, why do I not have a credit score? Well, you've never had a loan, you've never had a credit card, so therefore you have no credit, so you have no credit score.
So that's where they can come to you and do, what is it called, an unsecured
Loan, an unsecured
or a
signature.
share secured loan. You may be remembering that one where you borrow against your own money. So let's say you've saved up $2,000. You can come in and make a $500 loan with us, make those payments on time, and that helps build your credit. And you get that at you're paying a much lower interest rate for that loan. So there are ways to build that credit without going out and getting a lot of credit cards or amassing a lot of debt.
Right.
If you are, when you're a student in school and you work really hard and then you bomb one test, there goes your GPA.
Yeah.
So, and it takes a long time to build it back up.
Yeah.
In terms of building your credit back up, if you, let's say, I know you don't want to throw out a 3-digit number, but I'm going to throw one out.
Sure.
620. What does that do to your mind? What do you think in your head when you hear 620?
We've had some challenges on the credit history. Could be lack of credit coupled with some late payments on there.
Do you look at a job loss? If there's been a job loss, do you look at that from a different light than just laziness, if you will?
Certainly. Again, it's about the journey. It's about the story. What's the why behind that number? So I really want to encourage people that even if there are challenging credits, I know it can be difficult to have that conversation, but share your story. And share what led to that number, because again, I think understanding why that number exists is much more important than just the number itself.
If you have the 620 now, doctors say this time of year with healthcare, know your numbers, right? So perhaps the New Year's resolution is know your credit score.
That's very good.
If it's not really what you're wanting, and maybe you don't need a loan yet, but you never know when you may, steps that you can go ahead and take now to build it.
Yes.
If you begin to make those payments on time, whatever you do, pay some things off, typically, will you see some results like in a 2-month time frame? Like, is there a standard?
Such a great question, and it's such a hard question to answer because it's so unique to each individual. Everybody's credit history is different. There's different lengths of time. There's different number of loans. There's different balances that are owed. So everything is just so fluctuating depending on the unique circumstances of that person. However, the things that you can do that will impact positively for everybody is to limit how much you're owing on loans. Limit taking out lots of new credit in a short period of time.
Okay.
Those are things that will instantly have a negative impact if those start to grow.
I know I'm fixating on this, but I think a lot of people do have questions. So let's go again with the credit score thing. Let's say you've got 4 loans, you've got 4 payments, whether it's credit card, student loan, whatever. And each, like, one's $500, one's $750, one's $1,250, and one's $1,500. Just pretend. Which would you be better off doing, do you, as a general rule? Going ahead and making sure each of those 4 is paid on time, or trying to pay one off?
Definitely making sure that each of them are being paid on time.
Okay.
For sure. 35% of your credit score is made up by payment history. Are you making your payments on time? That is the highest number of a credit score.
Okay.
So above anything else, make sure each of your loans are being paid on time.
Okay. Most people probably have numbers higher than what I just threw out that they owe.
Sure.
So seeing the day come when those are all paid off seems like a long distance haul.
Yeah.
If they do the payments on time and that 620 number is beginning to inch up, then can they come to you and say, look, here's $8,000 worth of debt I owe, can I consolidate it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's an opportunity to potentially lower the interest rate, get it into one payment, and speed up the process of getting that loan paid off.
I've heard some folks say that this is a real problem that we have now, kind of countrywide, that we look more at the monthly payment and not as much at the interest rate. That interest rate's pretty important. It
is important. You know, you use 620 as an example for a credit score, just to put it into comparison's sake. Hypothetical numbers, at a 620, let's say you're paying 15.5% on a $20,000 auto loan for 5 years. You're going to pay probably around $9,000 total in interest over the life of that loan.
Wow.
You look at a 780 credit score and maybe you're getting 2.49% interest rate. You're going to be paying about $1,300 in interest over the life of that loan.
Something else, if you're paying 15.25% interest, that's a mighty high loan you're paying every month.
It's a large
and
payment.
That's going to cut in to your ability to get ahead. You're just
what
treading
you
water.
can do on something else. So yeah, that score affects that. Something else I had never really thought a lot about too is if you have credit cards, you don't want to keep them maxed out because that negatively impacts you, right?
It
And
does.
you're sitting here thinking, well, they gave me a limit of this. It should be okay to, spend up to that limit, when actually that can ding your credit score.
So, I've been sitting here having this conversation with you, and yet I'm wishing I had a notebook in my hand so I could have been taking notes, because it's not always logical thinking. It's
You're
not.
right.
It is to somebody.
It is to somebody.
So it wasn't to me when I started
Even
learning
though
all
you
that.
can do all your banking online at the credit union, and you can come in and you can talk. So maybe if you do come in and talk, bring pen and paper
Yes.
to take some notes, because you'll forget it
Yes.
when you get back into your daily life.
Absolutely. And utilize the tools that are available to you. Tammy and her team and TVFCU are going above and beyond in creating financial literacy and financial wellness tips. But there's many resources that are available for people to learn. But yeah, we'd love for people to come in and have conversations with us.
I guess too, something else that can happen, because you can't promise anything to people walking through your door except a smile, I guess, and the ability to open up an account. So even if you're not there yet with where you're wanting to get with your financial goals, if you just open an account and begin to put some money aside, and don't make sure that you think that your money can work for you and understand how it works. Is that a lot of it, Tammy?
Yeah, and I'd also like to add that, if you run into financial difficulties, which happens because life happens, don't sit there and isolate and just try to figure it out and maybe not be making your payments on time and all that. Go straight to your financial institution, whether it's us or whoever you happen to be doing business with, and tell them you've run into some financial difficulties and get help in being able to manage that, because it's so easy to get yourself into hot water when you don't talk to somebody and go ask that advice.
You do kind of have you're right, you have a natural reaction of holding it in. And I don't want anybody to know.
Yeah,
so,
I'm embarrassed. I lost my job. I can't make this payment. But if you'll just call, that's the first step.
And let me ask you this too before we have to go. We do live in a world where a lot of people hop around job to job to job. So when you're looking at loaning somebody money, is length of job history part of it?
It is. It is important to show a level of stability. What we would look at deeper, though, is how long have you been in the field that you're in? So, if you've been in a career, a line of business for a long period of time, that's going to go a long way if you've only been in your current position for a few months.
All right, here is where you can find them so you too can know your dough. The website is tvfcu.com. The 7 to 7 hours that you see there is because they have those interpersonal tellers, right? You can't come into the office until 7.
That's for the interactive teller machines, and
tellers.
that's Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
At our branches, you can find an interactive teller machine.
But you can apply for your loan if you're interested online right now, or give them a call at 634-3600. Thank you both so much.
Thanks so much.
And tomorrow we're going to learn more about knowing your dough, so stick around. We've got you covered all week.
At
Ashley Home Store's Overstock Sale, you'll find everything you need to brighten up your home this new year. Shop Overstock deals up to 60% off. Hundreds of items in stock and ready for delivery for a limited time only at Ashley Home Store.
The if in life, it's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends, if you can keep an eye on your money along the way, if you know you